Hello, hello, all. Thank you all for joining us for another hard conversation with the Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds. I am Nijiama Smalls, your host, and I am so delighted for the conversation that we are going to have on today. I have with me another special guest. Her name is Audra Bryant. I'm super excited about this conversation for many reasons, but before I get into that, let me tell you a little bit about Audra and her background. She is a Detroit native from the D. She is a multi-genre artist, personal empowerment coach, and motivational speaker. Her mission and goal is to help people acknowledge, embrace, and become empowered by any physical or emotional trauma that is hindering their ability to live courageously and victoriously. She wrote her first book, I've Got Scars, Baby: How to Embrace Your Scars, Empower Your Purpose, to broaden her mission and to help people heal and turn their scars into their superpower. She has hosted a numerous of workshops for companies like IKEA, Phoenix Society of Burn Survivors, and Union Resource Mission. She is also a life coach and she speaks all around helping to empower women. This is so important because we all have scars, right? Whether they're physical or emotional, the scars you can see, the scars you can't see. And it's so important that we learn how to live with our scars and not hide behind them and be ashamed. So, with that being said, thank you, Audra. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here. Yeah,
So,
thank you.
thank you. We're glad to have you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your scars, and what you feel about how you feel about the importance of having healthy self-esteem.
Yeah, so my story begins when I was 18 months old. So I was burned at 18 months old, and I didn't look at myself in the mirror until I was 25 because I didn't want to see my scars. And so there was that was a journey. That was a journey. And just to kind of talk about what I experienced during that time before I looked at my scars. I mean, it was just hiding. It was t-shirts and turtlenecks. And just so you kind of have a bit of an understanding, these are some of my scars, shoulder as well, neck. And so it's one of those things where I just got used to hiding. It was t-shirts, turtlenecks. I don't want anybody to see me. It was, okay, I can't dress. As a teenager, you want to be cute and wear all the cute outfits, but it's like, oh, my scar goes in between my breasts. So I don't have cleavage. I don't have these things that, I wanted to have. And I didn't feel like a woman in many ways. I just would, you know, all right, well, I guess that's not for me. And I would hide myself and just go about life. So self-esteem was definitely something that I struggled with, and in letting other people see my scars and see me fully, I just didn't do that at all.
Mm. Hiding behind those scars. Wow. That's something
Yeah.
that, many of us can relate to because we learn to, just as a coping skill, to hide the part of
Hmm.
us that we have not accepted. How did
Yeah.
you build your healthy self-esteem for yourself, even with these scars?
So yeah, so at 25, I actually had a revelation. I really feel like God was like the Holy Spirit was like, "Hey, Audra, everybody has scars. Some on the outside, some on the inside." And that was absolutely the very first time that I didn't feel alone when it came to my scars, because there's a certain feeling of isolation. Like, I'm the only one dealing with this. I'm the one, everything's the worst for me. You know what I'm saying? That's what you can think about when you're in having those experiences. So that was the first time that I didn't feel alone. And feeling alone seemed to be, kind of my Achilles heel, you know? And so from there, I said, okay, well, let me go on out there. Let me help some other people and encourage somebody. And God was like, whoa, hold on now. Wait a minute. Again, how are you going to help somebody else if you won't even look at yourself in the mirror?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, well, I guess I can't really argue with that. And so that's what I did. I had to learn to look at myself in the mirror. And it was a process, and it wasn't an easy process. It wasn't necessarily a fun process. But I had to literally every day, instead of bypassing the mirror, get out the shower, wrap a towel around myself, bypass mirrors, I had to actually stop, look, feel, touch. And it was a 6-month process.
Mhm.
And this, again, my scars across my chest and on my shoulder. And so I had to look at the thing that I didn't want to look at. And this was the thing I didn't want to look at most in my life. It wasn't you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that thing. It's the thing that I hated most about myself that
Wow.
I had to look at. And it was a 6-month process. Then after that process, I had to allow other people to see it. So I had to let other people, put myself in a space where I could potentially be judged by other people and seen by other people. And that was a challenging experience as well. But what I will say as it pertains to that, letting other people see me, is that, and I did this at a pool party. I didn't wear, like, I used to wear a swimsuit with a t-shirt. That's what I would do. I would wear a swimsuit with a t-shirt. I went to this pool party. I did not wear a t-shirt. I didn't bring a t-shirt. And so I just essentially thrust myself out there like, I have to do this. And I noticed, I thought people were going to be like, what's happened? What happened to you? What's that? What is, I really thought that. Nobody said a word.
Mhm.
And later, years later, I found out that because I spoke with someone from that pool party. And they're like, oh, I just thought you were really brave. You look really confident to me. And I was
Mhm.
like, excuse me? I was 5. Yeah, so it's interesting how other people may perceive us based on how we perceive ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow, you dropped so many nuggets there. I had to take some notes. One of the things you
Mhm.
said that was so powerful was you talked about the thing you hated the most about yourself, and you had to confront that,
Yeah.
right? And I think we do the
Yeah.
opposite. We run away from the thing that we hate the most about ourselves. Like you said, we hide it. We don't
Yeah.
talk about it. And I
Mhm.
always say the thing you can't talk about, the thing you can't show, it still has you trapped. It still has you bound. Whatever it is, whether it's a scar, whether it's pain or trauma that happened in your childhood or abuse,
Mhm.
neglect, whatever it is, if you can't talk about it, it still has you
Mhm.
bound. It still has you in that chokehold. So a big part of that is confronting it. And I love that you talked about, the 6-month process of looking yourself in the mirror because that is self acceptance, right? How will we expect
Yeah.
other people to accept us if we haven't even accepted ourselves? And I do that a lot. I get in the mirror
Mhm.
and I just talk to myself. I feed myself, and
Mhm.
it's something about that mirror experience, especially like you said, like after the shower, when you're raw, like, cause that's your most vulnerable,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
you're having those conversations and you're looking at you without the makeup, without the clothes on, you're just looking at you, the raw version of yourself. And that is
Yeah.
really starting to accept yourself. Like you are looking at yourself and you're saying, yeah, this may be different or this may be not my ideal, but it's me, right? This is me.
Yeah.
This is what
Yeah.
God has given me, right? And I've got to learn to love this. So I love that. And then you talked about letting other
Yeah.
people see it. And I imagine that was hard.
Mhm.
And,
It was really hard. Yeah. And and here's the thing, it was hard because, at least in my experience, it was because of the thoughts that I created in my own mind. And sometimes the barrier is that I think this is going to be hard. I think I'm going to be judged. I think people are going to speak and think negatively of me.
Mhm.
I think I'm not going to be accepted. So it's this I think.
Mhm.
You haven't even entered the
Mhm.
experience. So you don't know. It's your perception. And here's what I find interesting about this whole situation with my scars. And I had to look back at it like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And I want to start here. This is when I found out that there's something. The reason I started hiding is because I went to ballet class at like 3 years old. I'm in like ballet class
Mhm.
and we had to wear a unitard.
Mhm.
And I walked in and my scars are out. You know, my parents had seen my scars, my doctors and nurses had seen my scars. But when I went to ballet class, it was like, what happened to you? What's that? So you have these little kids coming up to you. What
Oh,
happened to you? What's
yeah.
that? What? And so that's when I became uber like
Self-conscious.
self-aware and
Mhm.
like self-conscious, right? And so then I carried that with me. I was
Mhm.
a child, and I'm 25 walking into this pool party thinking I'm going to get the same response. So
Wow.
that's what I'm saying. People don't always understand that so much in your mind. You think the person that you're with may totally reject you if you say that this is what you've experienced. You don't know. Could they? Absolutely. But you don't know that that's really the case. So sometimes it's just like, look, wouldn't you rather be with someone who sees your scars, right? If I'm on a dating site, would I rather have my scars showing so somebody can say yes to me fully, or hide them and then surprise it later and say, I don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Then there's the question.
Mhm.
So really, it's just about saying, let me put myself out there. I don't know how someone's going to respond. If I get a favorable response, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
But I have to do the hard work of
Mhm.
being vulnerable enough to let somebody see the stuff that, is
We've been
not
hiding.
my strongest suit. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's really the challenge. And it's not always bad.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you carried what happened in your childhood all the way to your adulthood, and I know we always do that, right? Many of us do that. We
Yeah.
carry the pain from our childhood and rejection especially. Rejection is hard. I carry a
Yeah.
lot of that. Like rejection is hits me
Yeah.
very hard
Yeah.
because of, pain from my childhood, right? And I say,
Hmm.
here I am at my big grown age, still acting off of the pain that, children inflicted upon
Yeah.
me, right? And so, but I also,
Yeah.
as you said, we create our own hard, right? It's all of that in our mind, and we talk ourselves out of certain things, right? We talk
Yeah.
ourselves out of good experience. You could have easily talked yourself out of going to the pool party, right? You could have said,
Oh,
"I don't want
yeah.
to go because I have
Yeah.
to wear this pantsuit. What are they going to say?" And they're going to react the way they did when I was so and so age, all of those sorts of things. And you could have missed out on a great experience. And here it is, that experience,
Yeah.
because you didn't talk yourself out of it, has now been a big part of your mission. That experience has now
Yeah.
given you purpose, right? And so I think that's
Yeah.
that's the key thing. One of the key things that we got to take away is facing our flaws and our scars and embracing them can really propel us through our mission. What are some things you mentioned, the situation
Mm.
in your childhood? Any other things compromised your sense of self-worth in your life, or, your self-esteem?
Yeah. And before I touch on
Mhm.
that, can I just throw something in there?
Sure.
Previously, I don't want people to think that every situation that they get the nerve to step into it, that people are going to be receptive of it.
Mhm.
I don't want to paint that picture.
Mhm.
What I do want to say though is that, yeah, you can be vulnerable. You can show your scars, the external or internal scars, and somebody welcomes you with open arms and they love on you and they're like, okay, that's not a big deal. You can get that, and you can also get the rejection.
Mhm.
Oh, I don't like that.
Mhm.
That's not for me. You know what I'm saying? Either can happen. Here's the good part about all of this is that it helps you to know who your people are.
That's so true.
Okay?
Right. That's
Like,
so true.
and I want you to be excited about that.
Mhm.
And I really do. I want people to be excited about, okay, I want to know who my people are.
Mhm.
I want to know the people who can accept me for the truth of who I am,
Mhm.
not the fake part, not the I just do everything for you, but I don't get nothing back part.
Right.
I mean, I show up with my scars. I'm honest. I'm still loving. I am open and vulnerable. And you either embrace me,
Mhm.
and if you embrace me, you my people. If you
Mhm.
don't, that just lets me know you're not my people. And you don't
Exactly.
have to make it don't have to feel weird. So I just
Exactly.
want people to know that. You know what I'm saying? Like in every scenario. And the person's not necessarily bad. They just
It's
not
not
your
for you.
people.
They're just not for you. I love that.
That is not for
I
you.
absolutely love that. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's a powerful, powerful takeaway is that you may get the acceptance
Yeah.
or the rejection, but the rejection is still okay. Both are
It
okay.
is.
And because it's
You
shining a
better thank
light.
God for it.
Yes, yes.
Because you want the truth.
Yes, how many times in my life have I said, "Thank you"? You know, you look back and you're like, "Thank you, God, that door closed. Thank you, God, they didn't accept me." Yes, because God has
Yes.
something better, and that's so like you said, and it doesn't mean we have to be enemies or whatever. We just not for
No.
each other. I love that. I hope that really helps
Yes.
someone. Absolutely.
Okay,
Everybody is not your
good.
person. Everybody's not your person, and that's
No.
okay.
And please, because we really sometimes we fight so hard to be somebody's somebody,
Yes,
to be
yes.
somebody's person, to
Mhm,
be it fit in.
mhm,
We fight, the whole concept of mean girls.
mhm.
Like you trying to fight to be at the mean girls table.
Right,
Why?
right, exactly, exactly. Why? Why
Why
fight
are we
it?
trying to be at the mean girls table? No, you be over here with the people that's like, I like you because you have a nice outfit on. You are pretty.
Exactly,
You're cool. You're nice. You're smart.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll leave that there. But I just wanted to say that.
No, but that's a very
But
powerful point is because
yeah,
we have to, um and again, I'm speaking from someone who has dealt with rejection and who is sensitive to it, right?
yeah,
And so we have
yeah.
to be prepared for the rejection, but in such
Mhm.
a way that it doesn't derail us. It doesn't tear us down. That we use the rejection to
Yeah,
motivate us to do more positive things, to say, okay, you know what? Y'all don't rock with me. That's fine. I'll go over here.
yeah. And that's all. That is all it is. Because you should want to be where you're supposed to be.
Where you're supposed to
You know what
be.
I'm saying?
Mhm. And
Like,
sometimes and the people that reject you, sometimes it's just saying, "I can't
yeah.
give you what you need." You know what I mean? I can't handle the true you. That may be too much for you. You may
Mhm.
be, sometimes people don't know how to say, "You may be too powerful for me."
And a lot of time and that is very true. And a lot of times, if especially if you're in a space of being vulnerable
Mhm.
and understanding yourself on a deep level,
Mhm.
it may be triggering to someone else
That's true.
because maybe they're not in that space yet.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And you being in that space can call them forth to being in that space as well. And they may not be ready for that. Whatever the case may be, you can tell yourself anything.
Mhm.
You can tell yourself whatever it is. But
Mhm.
as long as you tell yourself, it is important for me to find people where I am safe and who love me for who I am.
Mhm.
And they have compassion for me.
Mhm.
It's important for me to be in healthy
Healthy
relationships, whether it's
relationships.
friendships or romantic relationships. It's just important for me to be in those.
Mhm.
And I know I can't be in those if I have to be somebody else
Mhm.
to be with this person or these people.
Or have to tone
And
down certain aspects of myself in order to fit in,
yeah,
you know? And I think that's so
yeah, within reason.
right, right. And
And I say within
mhm.
reason, because somebody can, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I don't want anybody to feel like you can just walk into a room and be
Oh,
disrespectful of
yeah,
other
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
and
yeah.
they just, you know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah, yeah.
saying? So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's a great point. I love that. I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. Okay.
So,
So,
absolutely. So,
situations that may have
yeah.
tampered with your self-esteem or self-worth.
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, to be honest with you, I had a lot going on,
Mhm,
if I could say that.
mhm,
Like, I was the chubby girl with the braces and the scar.
mhm,
And I was always around adults because I was raised as an only child. I
mhm,
had siblings, but they're all like 30 years older than me. So, like, pretty much all of my nieces and nephews were older than me, that kind of thing.
mhm,
So, I never felt like I always fit in.
mhm.
You know, I was around adult conversations. So, even relating to people my age was a little strange. Like, I like everybody else is eating Captain Crunch. I'm eating crackling oat bran. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I felt, like a
Mhm,
little old lady in a sense, you
mhm,
know? And so there is a sense of not feeling like I belong, generally speaking.
mhm,
Like, not really feeling like I fit in with my family, not really feeling like I fit in sometimes with even people who are my age. And again, you're the chubby girl with the
mhm.
braces. It's, you know, you don't feel cute. Like, guys aren't necessarily checking for you. I mean, it's one of those things where I got my shape when I got into ninth grade.
Mhm,
Like, all throughout up until 8th grade, like, I wore a school uniform, so I had and by the time 8th grade came, I had to wear shorts underneath my skirt
mhm,
because it was a little too big at that
mhm.
point, but whatever, nobody could tell. But then when I got to ninth grade, I had my little shape, and I wore this outfit. I went I went to this dance
Mhm,
at one of the schools that everybody like one of the high schools that everybody went to, and I had on this skirt, and it was kinda, like, tight, you know,
mhm,
a little, you know,
mhm,
form-fitting, and I had on a turtleneck, but it was still kinda form-fitting,
mhm.
and I walked into there, and it was like, "Oh, I should lost some weight. Oh my goodness." I mean, it was a whole thing, and I was like, "What is going on?" But it was this idea that you have a lot of things going on where you don't feel like you fit in.
Mhm,
You don't feel like you fit in. You don't feel like you're really, you know, connected.
mhm,
And so with that, it was just like, okay, I guess I have to navigate this along with my scars. So
mhm.
yeah.
I know, especially, being a adolescent, it's just so hard, right? For a young girl and because, even my daughter says that, if you're too skinny, you get picked
Mhm.
on. If you're too big, you get picked on. If this isn't big enough now, and, now we're in this BBL era. And even, young girls are talking about BBLs and all that kind of stuff. Like, why are
Yeah.
y'all thinking about that right now? Like, that should be the least
Yeah.
thing on your mind. But that is just, our society. And we just get sucked in that. How do you think a person can tell if they're struggling with
Mhm.
their self esteem or self worth? Are there any signs or symptoms?
Well, I always say, you know, relationships are a mirror
Woo.
for us,
Yes, Lord.
right? They really, really are. And how do you receive someone else's good news? If it's somebody you admire, when you see them, when you see someone that you think like, oh, she's so pretty, she's so beautiful. What is the back end of that conversation
Mhm.
for you? Is it Yeah, she's so beautiful. She's doing her thing. Da, 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 da. And it's not a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was more this. I wish I was more that. Dang, I wish in a sense, because there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with admiring somebody and
Mm-hmm.
saying, well, I would really like to have blah, 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 blah. You know, but there's a sense of like, does it feel heavy for you?
Mm-hmm.
Not just like aspirational. Because somebody can, you might see somebody with really long hair and you're like, I want to grow my hair long. Let me, see what kind of stuff she put in her hair. You know what I'm saying? It may be a situation like that. And it's not a big deal. But if it starts to make you feel down,
Mm-hmm.
when you actually find yourself comparing, my hair just don't grow. I can never do anything right. What is your self-talk?
Mm-hmm.
How do you talk about yourself? When you're showing up, are you showing up? When you get dressed to go out, are you getting dressed to go out so that you can be accepted or because you like what you have on?
Mm-hmm.
So it really is about understanding yourself and listening to yourself and listening to and your perspective on things. Even listen to your conversation. When you say things, is it, yeah, I really am excited about that. I would love to do that, but I mean, I'm probably not going to do it. And, it's like a type of energy. You know what I'm saying? I think we need to listen to those things and even ask your friends. And ask a friend that really is a friend that'll tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
When I show up, if you were to rate my level of confidence in the room, like, girl, you're amazing. I just don't think you think you're as amazing as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like you are a 10 level of amazing, but you show up as a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are things. And here's the thing. Here's what I will say. I don't want people to feel bad about feeling bad about themselves because that'll make you feel bad.
It's true. That's so
You
true.
know?
Yeah.
It's just, I think sometimes we got to brush a little, like, hey, everybody has insecurities about everything. You can
Yes. So
have,
true.
how many celebrities have insecurities?
Woo.
How many don't? That really is an easier question to
That's true.
answer.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have any insecurities?
Mm-hmm.
They have money, they have fame, they have whatever stuff that they may want to buy, but they still have insecurities. So understand that this is a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
This is not about not having insecurities. It's about saying, you know what? Let me put things in proper perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hey, if it's something you want to do for yourself, like for me, when I first moved out to Los Angeles, I'll say this. I left. I graduated at 140 pounds from high school. Went to college, gained 30 pounds. Moved out to California, went up to 180 pounds. Here's what I just discovered with that experience. I wound up losing 40 pounds, right? So I went from maybe a stretch 12 to like a 4. My level of self-esteem did not increase with my weight loss.
Wow.
And if you need pictures, I will send you a photo. It did not increase. Oh, no. Because then it was just like, okay, now I have to compete. Oh, I have to be this in order to be accepted. I have to be thin in order to fit in. Pardon the rhyme. But you know what I'm saying? I have to be this. And so when you feel like you have to be this in order to be accepted and loved and whatever, that's a self-esteem issue.
That's a self-esteem issue, right?
That's a self-esteem issue. What I told myself after I lost the weight, I said, you know what I would have been better is if I would have fully been okay with the size that I am at the moment and then lose the weight because I want to look a certain way and have more mobility and exercise and whatever. Lose it with a healthy mindset. So if we do things in a way that is loving toward us, like, you know what? I don't work. At the time, I wasn't working out. It's like, look, I don't work out walking up these stairs, I feel winded. This is ridiculous. I don't like that. I like to feel good. You know what? I'm going to do what I got to do to feel good. That's a different mindset than I have to fit in with everybody else.
Right. Exactly.
You see
Or I
what I'm
have to make
saying?
people like me or respect me because I'm doing this, I'm
Exactly.
wearing this, all of these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what's the
That,
reason you are wearing it? What's the reason you are losing the weight? What's the reason you are doing XYZ?
yeah. If you wear a certain outfit because you like trying to look good at this thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I love this. My body, you see, my booty is like this. My
Mm-hmm.
arms look like this. My legs look. Do it for those reasons, not because I hope somebody, checks me out in this.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. It's just the mindset. And that's it. And I think that's the approach is just to have a mindset that feels like I'm loving myself.
Yes.
I'm
Yes. I
doing
love
this because I love myself.
Yes. I love that. The mindset that I love myself. I'm doing this because I love me. Yes. And I think that has to be the
Yeah.
basis for a lot of what we do. And you talked about our
Mhm.
relationships serve as a mirror, right? And so I
Yeah.
wanted to share an example of that in
Mhm.
terms of our self esteem. I had a very good friend who I thought was
Mhm.
just beautiful. And,
Mhm.
she's going through a lot of stuff and so on. And um, I know she would like lash out. The least little thing someone would say, she would just take it personally and lash out. And when you peel back the layers on that, you know, you come to realize, as I had conversations with her, and it always went back to what other people believed about her. Like, you saying this makes me feel like you are questioning my this. You saying this, it makes
Mhm.
me feel like you're questioning my character. Or you saying this makes me feel like. And so it's in that, and that's another example of how, you know, when we're taking things too personally, sometimes
Mhm.
it could show us that there's a self-esteem issue, right? And
Mhm.
we have to do the work to kind of address that. As I tell my children, like, we don't have to take everything personal. You know, not everything has
Yeah.
ill intent behind it. And you can even say,
Yeah.
before you take that thing personally, you can say, hey, this came off a little harsh to me. Do you mind
Mhm.
telling me what you mean? Like, I'm really trying big on teaching them how to communicate
Yeah.
so you can prevent a storm if you communicate openly about it and have the hard conversation. So, and hence the reason for this podcast is teaching us all to have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
But I believe, going back to the initial point, I believe that when we're taking things too personally, and in our mind, because we get so wrapped up in our mind about how people are perceiving us and different
Mhm.
things people say, we're interpreting, and it's like, oh, she thinks of this. Oh, she doesn't see this. Oh, she doesn't see that. No, it's because you don't see that in yourself. And you are projecting that on to other people, right? And so I think
Mhm.
that's just another example of what you said about our relationships are truly a mirror of what's going on inside of us.
Yeah, and a lot of times when we are harsh with ourselves and we take things
Mhm,
personally, it really is a lot of times coming from a place of trauma as well, because I don't know the person, your friend's story or anything like that, but there could be a situation where it's just like, you have to be perfect.
mhm,
There's a lot of you have to be perfect
mhm,
situations, especially if we're talking about within like the Black community, is
mhm,
this idea if you have to be twice as good.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
And so there's a sense of like, I have to be everything.
mhm,
I cannot depend on anybody else.
mhm,
So if you were to even make a loving suggestion about this or a little suggestion about that, it's like, oh my God, all the work that I've done to be perfect, all the work that I've done, the hard work that I've done to make everything in my life something, worth living, it puts that into question. So a lot of times that's what it is this deep sense of I have to be perfect. I have to lean on myself. I can't depend on anybody else. And if you say anything to me about anything, that means I'm not doing a good job.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's not a healthy space to be in. Because child, look, let me tell you, I know it personally. I've seen it. I've seen it in my own mother, where it's just like when you're the person that everybody depends on, if you're the person that's always had to have it together, even when you feel like you want to fall apart and you might need to fall apart, you can't. That's too much.
That's too much to bear.
Hashtag too much.
Hashtag too much.
Okay.
Team too much.
It's too much. Team too much. No, we gonna have to get off team too much. And that actually is a part of the work that I do when I'm working with people, because I started finding that I'm connecting with clients and they have the same issue. It is this issue of like, I got to take care of everybody else. My feelings don't matter. And they don't even know what they need. They don't even know what they need because they haven't sat 5 minutes to explore it. And I know this personally, this is my life too. So yeah, we just got to get off a team too much. And that's a lot of times that's what creates that sensitivity.
Exactly. And I was raised, my parents used to always say, grandparents, all the elders around me used to always say, you have to give over 100%. As a Black woman, right? You have to do more. You have to outwork them, because you're under this microscope, all of that. And you are so right. It adds this extra pressure, unnecessary pressure that we just don't need. And we're carrying that around and we're overdoing on this. We're checking our I's and dotting our T's all day long, all night, because we live with this fear that has been created for us since we were children. And so and you work yourself, whatever you're doing, you work yourself to the death. I've seen people, type A folks or whatever, and they will like work themselves and stress all night over projects and so on. And I'm like, how do you live with that kind of pressure? So for me, I don't say that to my children. I always say, you do the best you can. You do what you can do. You do the best you can. Give everything you've got. Do the best you can. But at the end of the day, once you've done that, that's all you can do. But, I don't do that whole 100%, doing all of that, because it just adds an extra layer of stress that we just don't need.
Yeah. We don't need that. And that is it. That's where it comes from. It's like you didn't create the society and how unfair and ridiculous and crazy it is. So why are you having to suffer the consequences of it? Like, no, thank you. I trust that God is going to bring to me, when I do my best, God will bring to me what is for me. And what is for me is for me. And that's it. And not saying that it's easy to get out of that. I'm not saying that it's easy. But we have to go back to vulnerability.
Yes.
And the vulnerability, you see what I'm saying? It is allowing someone to help you, allowing yourself to receive the things that you need. And so we're so focused on, let me go out and get it, that you got to allow it to come to you. And I think especially as women, it is so important, especially as Black women, for us to allow good to come to us without having to overwork for it. Like really being in a space where it's just like, I truly believe that I am loved. I love myself. I appreciate who God has created me to be. And good things, they really should come to me. I believe it. You see what I'm saying? I have to believe that good, great, and wonderful is for me as well. And I think if we sit in that, allow her and practice again, just like I had to practice looking at myself in the mirror. It takes time. You don't rush it, but practice not doing so much. Practice really establishing those boundaries and sticking to them. Practice believing that good is going to come to you without you having to overwork yourself. And then watch things show up. Watch people show up for you. A lot of times we don't even know if somebody will because we're so used to showing up for ourselves. So
Exactly.
It's like you don't even know who you have around you until you have a thing that you need somebody to show up for.
Exactly.
You don't know who your people are, right? So it's kind of like the whole concept of being vulnerable. Like, if you can be vulnerable in front of the person and not be rejected, then you know that's your person. It's like, child, look, you can't do everything. Be it. I really believe that we need to practice being a damsel in distress sometimes, even if you're not in distress. Like, oh, I'm still a damsel. Okay, I don't know.
Who's
It
gonna
just
come?
it looked pretty. I don't know.
Yes,
Yes,
soft
who's gonna
life,
come? Who's gonna
soft life
come?
damsel. Yes.
Yes, and I don't, and I really mean that in the most sincere and loving way. I mean that in a sense of I think it's important for us to take that part of ourselves back, to reclaim it. It's the feminine energy. It is the energy that allows us to thrive as women. And we deserve that.
We deserve that.
And it is not to, yes, we deserve it. It is not to, it doesn't harm anyone. What it does, and I don't mean to be soft and mean. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm taking my soft life. No, that's not how we do it. We just sit in it.
Sit in it.
I rest in it.
Sit in my soft life. I gotta write that down.
You sit in it. And then you allow people, you're vulnerable, you're honest. You're like, I really want to help with that. I just am feeling a bit overwhelmed right now. And, maybe I can do that next week, possibly, if that's okay. All right. And that's how you speak at work. That's how you speak in your daily life. That's how you speak to your man. There's a gentleness about it. And here's what I told a client. Here's what I told someone before. I was speaking with someone. I shared this with the client as well. I said, and this was because I've worked as a matchmaker as well in coaching with relationships. And I said, how do men respond to you? They're like, yeah, like what do they say? And they're like, yeah, they say I'm in my masculine energy and so on. And I was like, okay. I hear you. And she's like, well, I have to protect myself because I don't know, I don't know these. I'm like, I get it. I totally understand. Totally do. I say, you know what might be a little bit easier for you and maybe even, just a different option. What if you showed up on a first date and you were very soft and gentle and went with the flow? And you're just all in your feminine energy. Here's the difference. You show up like that. Now, if you find in that date that you have to move over into your masculine energy and you have to start protecting yourself, you have to start guiding and leading and all that kind of stuff, then you don't have a second date.
Right.
That's not a safe space for you. But if you wait till you're 3 months in this dating process to then be soft, you see what I'm saying? And to be in your feminine energy. You don't even know if he's equipped to really be able to lead or protect you. You don't know.
Right.
Because you've been protecting yourself. And so I'm like, let's get to it the first time. If he walking 10 miles ahead of you on the first date, I don't feel safe. But you can recognize where you are when you're in this softer state.
Right.
You can recognize what feels good to you and what doesn't. So just random. I know that was
no, that's good. That was good stuff.
Off the But yeah,
That's definitely good stuff. How important is it to find your people while you're building your self-esteem and building your confidence?
I think it's critical, honestly. I thought this was so amazing. And I'd never heard this before, but a pastor was sharing about like dating,
Mhm.
something a woman could do. So this is not mine. Someone else said this, but I thought this was genius. He said if you're on a date, like a first date, knock something over on the table, like the glass, not the water on the guy,
Mhm,
but it's like, oh, you knock it over, it looks like you're clumsy or whatever, and see
mhm,
how he responds. Is he like attentive? Oh my gosh, are you okay? Let me get you some
mhm,
napkins. Let me help you, blah, blah, blah. Or is he like, oh, like kind of annoyed by it, right? He's like, oh, yeah. That tells you a lot. And I
really?
think that works because that just tells you about how it tells you about care. And it tells you right away. So if you think about it, it's like, well, how could I apply that to life when it comes to vulnerability?
Mhm,
When you're like, hey, friend, I'm not doing well. It is such a rough day.
mhm,
I mean, it is bad. And they talk to you and they're like, okay, I got you, or I'm about to come pick you up, or you want me to bring you something. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Now,
mhm,
if you could also share that same thing with another friend. Oh,
mhm,
for real, girl. All right, I hear you, girl. It's gonna work out. I gotta go though. Nah, and that's how it always is with that
mhm,
person.
mhm.
That gives you feedback. That's information,
Right,
right?
right.
And so but if we never are going with everything, girl, you could be going crazy inside.
Mhm,
But you like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's cool. You don't know.
mhm,
You don't know how who is going to respond to what.
mhm.
You are just
Absolutely.
in the dark at that point.
Mhm,
And so our thing is, let's not be in the dark. Let's be honest.
mhm,
It's just honesty. It's not I'm trying to test anybody.
mhm,
It's just you're honest with what's going on in your life
mhm,
and you get honest responses to
mhm,
what's going on in your life.
mhm.
But if we're never honest, then we don't know.
Right.
And what you don't want to do is get into a position where you are truly in dire straits and you can't do anything to
Mhm,
help yourself. Like, God forbid, any type of like illness
mhm,
and you can't do anything for
mhm,
yourself. Then you have to, it's a crapshoot because
mhm,
I don't even know
mhm.
who's gonna show
Who's
up.
gonna
You see what
show
I'm
up?
saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't want to wear ourselves so thin that that's the only way we know who's there for us. You can find out along the way in those smaller challenging experiences.
Mhm. So true. True, so true. And I think that's so important. And I love let me first start off by saying I love the analogy you gave about the water. That's a powerful piece of information. And
I was like, oh,
yes, absolutely
okay.
right. But I think, the key is being vulnerable, and not everyone is okay with being vulnerable. That was something for many of us, especially coming from,
Mhm,
Black families where we didn't
mhm,
see a lot of vulnerability growing up,
mhm,
right? And so now we're hearing that word vulnerability and it's like, well, what does that look like? And what does that look like for me? How much
mhm,
vulnerability is too much vulnerability? And a lot of people can't handle your vulnerability. I am for one, I am an
mhm,
open book and I am a vulnerable person, right? If I'm in community
mhm.
with you, I'm going to be vulnerable and I want to be vulnerable to make it safe for you as well to say, listen, sis, if
Yeah.
you've got something you need to unload, I am here. I am here for you, right? And I've realized
Mhm,
sometimes that's not some people just can't handle that. That's just not where they are, right?
mhm,
And I'll be
mhm,
honest with you, I think being vulnerable is a very advanced level skill, right? It's a
mhm,
skill and it's advanced because It requires you to put the ego down, to put, the shame and the pride and all of that down, to open up and allow someone in. And not everybody is able to accept that and to give that back, right? And so I've
Mhm.
learned that my vulnerability isn't for everybody, right? And I learned that the very hard
Yeah.
way, right? And it goes back to what you
Mhm.
were saying previously, is that about the rejection piece, is they're just not your people. And that's okay, right? And I think especially being a
Mhm.
black woman, because we go through so many
Mhm.
things, right? Being a black woman is something I have to be mindful of my blackness every single day. If I walk into a
Yeah.
space and it's predominantly white, I have to be mindful of how my blackness is going to be perceived, right? I have to be mindful when I'm
Mhm.
talking to my children's teacher or whatever of how my blackness is going to be perceived. So it's not something that I could put on and take off, right? And so
Yeah.
I think as black women, it is so important for us to find vulnerability in spaces with people that truly get us, right? And that can
Mhm.
truly accept us. And that doesn't always mean that I truly believe that we're better together as black women, but sometimes I do believe that there are some white sisters out there
Mhm.
that are able to love us in such a way. And it's not a I'm gonna be honest,
Mhm.
but they're able to accept our vulnerability and not feel that it's a threat to them, or they can get past their comfort. Because I went to dinner with a few of my neighbors. We
Mhm.
have a neighborhood book club. And I was just sharing
Mhm.
something that we discovered in our family, of our family history. And they were like, "Oh, tell me more." And they started like Googling. And I was just surprised, like, y'all want to hear
Mhm.
about, my ancestors is from Nigeria and they was just so interested and
Mhm.
intrigued. And it really
Yeah.
like, and it really, you know, at that moment, it disarmed me. Not saying that I was in, with my guns out, but it was like,
Yeah.
it created safety, right? And it said,
Yeah.
we get you, and it's okay. It's okay. We
Yeah.
understand that your history is different from ours, but I want to learn and
Yeah.
have a conversation instead of, going behind my back and saying, here she is bringing up race. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I'm saying all that. I know I
Yeah.
went on a kind of tangent, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's so important, especially as Black women. I think all women, we have to find our people, but as Black women, we really have to find
Yeah.
our people and be okay with being vulnerable, but knowing that
Yeah.
our vulnerability isn't for everybody. It's a gift. I think it's a gift, and it's one that can really it builds relationships. It's a level of intimacy
Yeah.
that really creates true relationships, is vulnerability.
I 100% agree with that. I really do. And I love the part where you're talking about relationships because it really creates intimacy. It does. I always say that our scars are the great equalizer.
I love that.
They really are because everybody has something. Like everybody has something. And I think that's what we have to understand is that everybody has a thing that is painful, that was painful, that is hard, whether it's because of race or whether it's because of something that happened in their family dynamic or whether it's something that happened at school or whatever this thing is,
Mhm,
there's something. And this is black women to black women to black men,
mhm,
and every other everything, every outside of any other cultural thing is
mhm,
this idea of like, okay, I've experienced pain before.
mhm.
Have you experienced pain before? So we've both experienced pain before. It doesn't feel good, does it? Your pain was very painful. My pain was very painful. And it sucked to feel that, didn't it? Okay. I don't want to feel that anymore either. Do you? No, you don't want to feel that way anymore either. Okay. So, wow, we have something in common.
Right, right.
It's as simple as that. It's
Mhm,
like, oh, we both been through some things.
mhm,
Well, that's you been through some things. I've been through some things. Okay, we done been through some things. sometimes that's the thing. That's the thing that connects you and creates the intimacy.
Mm.
And the fact that I don't want to experience those things anymore. I would like to have a different experience. Connection. And that's it. It's not even that deep. It's like, oh, we're human.
We're human. We are human. Absolutely.
We went through all of that just to discover, oh, we are human and we are having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need to judge each other's experience. That's where the problem comes in, is when we judge each other's experiences.
Exactly.
And it's like, and so let's just not do that part and just focus on the fact that we are human. And so I agree. That's where the intimacy can build.
I agree completely. I love that. What would you say to someone that is listening in to this or watching and they say, wow, some of the things she said in terms of self-esteem or self-worth or trauma or scars really resonates with me. What advice would you give them? What next step would you tell them to take?
I have a framework. And the framework is acknowledge your scars, embrace your scars, become empowered by your scars. What does that look like? Acknowledge how you're really feeling. Be honest. If the answer is, child, I'm barely making it right now, that's okay. If your answer is, I have a pretty cool, things are pretty decent. I mean, I could have a little extra here, a little extra there. That's cool. Now, say your response is, child, I'm barely making it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to explore, what are those things? So you have to, what comes up for you? Is it the friendships? Is it the thing that happened to you when you were 7 years old? Let's go. Don't keep that to yourself. Get a therapist, get a coach. You got to have a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I had a physical mirror to see my scars. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm saying. I had a physical mirror that said they're here, and I had to get used to them. And this is how I got used to them, is I explored them. But when you have emotional scars, they're inside, right? So how do you actually explore things that are inside of you? Through a relationship. And you want to have a relationship with, again, a therapist, a coach, someone, even if it's a journal, because you're not ready for a coach yet.
Mm-hmm.
Get the stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Write it out. You need to commune with the thing. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes when you commune with a thing with someone else who understands how to commune with the thing and help you to commune with the thing, then you do that. And then you can take the time. Don't rush. Don't beat yourself up. It's not a coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Right.
It's none of that, right? Give yourself grace, right? Because you already did the biggest part, and that was acknowledging that, oh, child, I'm barely making it, right? You did that. So then the empowerment, become empowered by your scars. That takes the time that it takes. Like, I wrote a song called Scars, but it took me 10 years to get to the point where I could write a song called Scars.
Wow.
But that's 10 years of, I had to do work. I had to, be okay with myself. So with that, the empowerment, to become empowered by them, a lot of times what that looks like is you get to the point where you're like, wow, I dealt with, I commune with, I explored my scars, my stuff. And now, man, I started to look at it like, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been this kind of person. And I'll use this as an example. If I didn't have my physical scars, I don't know that I would be a compassionate person. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know if I just would have been focused on myself. I was raised the only child. I might have just been up here like, child, like, if you ain't got nothing to do with me, I don't want to hear nothing about it. You understand what I'm saying? And it could have been other things. I think sometimes we think that the challenging parts of our lives were designed to destroy us. I don't think that's the case.
Right.
Sometimes those things were to keep us connected. I'll say for
Yes.
me, to keep us connected to God so that we can be humble enough
Right.
to know that we ain't perfect and don't
Exactly.
have it all the way together. And we can be loving and compassionate toward others. It is to keep us in that. It helps us in that regard. Because if everybody just had everything they wanted and everything, I don't know.
Exactly.
Be kind and nice and loving. You know what I'm saying? So it gets you to that point of becoming empowered where it's like, child, look, I done been through the things. But let me tell you what I learned.
Let me tell you what I learned.
Let me
Yes.
tell
Let
you
me
what
show
I
you who I
learned.
am now.
Exactly. Let me show you who I am now.
Exactly. I love that.
And when you in that space, you are winning. And you ain't had to be perfect to win.
Absolutely.
You ain't have to be
You didn't
perfect
have
to
to
win.
be perfect
That's
to
how
win.
good God is. God is like, child, look, you saw all that stuff over there that happened. And look at this over here, this happening with all that stuff that happened back there. It made this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. Wow. Thank you, Audra. You shared so many jewels, so many aha moments, so much wisdom. I am so grateful for you, sis. Tell everybody, y'all, let's go out and buy her book. Everybody listening, go out and buy her book. Tell us where we can find your book, Audra.
Thank you so much. It is on Amazon. I've got Scars, Baby, How to Embrace Your Scars, Empower Your Purpose. It is, first, I just want to say, it is a self-help memoir. So I share the details of my experience with my scars, but at the end of every chapter are questions to help you explore your own story and your own personal experiences. Because, you know, it's to help you acknowledge. It'll help you with the acknowledge phase and even help you with the embracing phase, you know. So, yes. So Amazon, you can go there and grab it. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if folks want to take the next step, whether it's following you or reach out to you for coaching session, how can we find you?
Yes. You can find me at audrabryant.com. That's the easiest thing because you can also go to purposefulfilledinc.com. But audrabryant.com, AudraBryant.com. And you can book coaching sessions there. And I'll also send you a link as well. There's a guide to kind of help you get started with your story. Like, where did all this come from? I call it your strength story. Like, where did all this stuff come from? It'll help you with that. It'll help you to kind of guide you toward understanding what your needs are. And that's something it is, and you can reach out to me. We can do a strategy session. Say you get this guide and you're like, I'm stuck on this part. Schedule some time with me. We can go over it together. And I will, for your guests, we'll do a free strategy session.
Oh, there you go.
You know, just to get started.
I love that. I love that.
So, yeah.
So you can go to the website. I'm going to have that information, that link posted on the website, the Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds.com. And the link will be on the homepage. I will also send it out to those who listen to via newsletter. I'll send it out as well. So we get started on that strategy session and buy this book and sit down with Audra, because everyone needs to take a temperature check. I even do that every now and then of my self-esteem and my self-worth, and whatever areas I feel are lacking, I do the work. We're human, right? We all are prone to insecurities, and things will happen that will put a dent in our self-esteem and how we perceive ourselves. It's so important for our relationships that we do everything we can to build ourselves up so that we can continue to grow. Thank you, Audra. I appreciate this. Again, this is a great conversation. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds. Go to the website, take a look at the resources and check back. We will be back shortly with another episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.